You know that moment, you're standing in the grocery store, you're trying to do the right thing, and you see that one simple word on a package, humane. It feels good to buy it, right? But what are we really buying? Let's take a closer look. Just think about it for a second. Your last trip for groceries. When you were in the meat or dairy aisle, did your hand automatically go for the package with a special certification? Or maybe one with a nice little picture of a happy cow on a green pasture? It's what a lot of us do. We're trying to make a choice we can feel good about. And here's the wild part. Most of us think we're already doing a great job. A survey found that a huge majority, 3/4 of Americans, believe the animal products they're eating come from animals that were treated well. But what if that feeling doesn't quite line up with the facts? Yeah, that's where the story starts to get, well, a little messy. Because when investigators from animal advocacy groups actually go behind the scenes onto these supposedly high welfare farms, they often find something that looks a whole lot different from the picture on the package. I mean, listen to this. This is a powerful statement. It's from the co-director of a group called Animal Rising, and it came right after what's being called the biggest undercover investigation in UK history. And get this, they were looking at farms that were part of the RSPCA Assured Scheme, which is supposed to be one of the best animal welfare programs in the country. And here's a snapshot of what they said they found. Across dozens of these so-called high welfare farms, investigators reported seeing some really grim stuff. Dead animals just left to rot, disease spreading like wildfire, and just massive overcrowding. The report ended up alleging hundreds of legal and regulatory violations. Now it's easy to think, okay, but that's over there. Well, let's bring it back home to the US. A recent whistleblower with a report backed by PETA made some very similar claims against a company called Farmer Focus. They supplied chicken to huge supermarkets like Safeway and Publix, and their products are labeled certified humane. The allegations from inside this US facility are just as disturbing. You have extreme animal suffering, like a disease that can literally turn a chicken's tissue green. But then you also have some really serious food safety concerns, with claims that managers just ignored quality control and sold spoiled and even contaminated meat anyway. You know, this huge gap between the happy promise on the label and the grim reality on some of these farms, there's a name for it: humane washing. It's basically marketing that paints this beautiful picture of animal welfare while hiding the much darker side of industrial farming. And here's a perfect example of how that works. Take a label we all know: cage-free. It sounds wonderful, doesn't it? But the reality, according to our sources, is almost never a sunny pasture. It's usually a giant windowless shed crammed with tens of thousands of other birds, where the stress gets so intense it can actually lead to violence and cannibalism. So you have to wonder, how is this gap maintained? How can what we think is happening be so different from what investigators are reporting? Well, the answer seems to involve a whole lot of money and a very powerful system of political influence that's designed to keep things just the way they are. Okay, let's talk about the Farm Bill for a second. This is a gigantic piece of legislation that basically sets the rules for all of American agriculture. To influence the most recent one, agribusiness spent a mind-boggling $500 million on lobbying. And believe me, that is not a one-off. The meat industry has been playing the long game for decades. Since 1998, they've spent almost $100 million just to make sure our laws and regulations are friendly to their way of doing business. And a big chunk of that money, it goes straight into political campaigns. You can see the trend is pretty consistent. About 3/4 of donations from the animal ag industry go to Republicans, and about 1/4 go to Democrats. It's all about keeping politicians in office who will support the industry.
But it isn't just about politicians. It's also about shaping what we think. The industry funds these big PR campaigns that look a lot like science, like something called the Dublin Declaration, and they create programs to train social media influencers to fight back against any negative press.
Okay, this is where it gets really crucial. Even if you manage to see through all that and you try to buy products with the absolute best, most trustworthy certifications you can find, there are these fundamental industry-wide practices that are almost always allowed. They're totally legal, but they might not square with your idea of humane. Just look at this chart. These are some of the biggest third-party certifiers out there. You can see only one of them, Animal Welfare Approved, even requires that animals have access to a pasture. And when you look at these other systemic issues, like using chickens bred to grow unnaturally fast, or killing male chicks, or taking calves from their moms, they're basically allowed across the board. Let's just pause and break these down because the details are pretty shocking. First, that genetic stuff. Modern chickens have been bred to grow so freakishly fast that their own skeletons and organs often can't keep up. One study put it in perspective. It's the equivalent of a 2-month-old human baby weighing 600 pounds. Then there's male chick culling. Since male chicks can't lay eggs, the industry kills about 6 billion of them every year, often by dropping them into a grinder while they're still alive. And finally, in the dairy industry, it is standard practice to separate a calf from its mother within hours of birth. These aren't isolated incidents. This is the system. So, all of this brings us right back to that huge gap between what we think we're buying at the store and what the industry is actually producing. The choice, it turns out, is a lot more complicated than just picking the right label. This quote from the nonprofit group Farm Forward it really hits the nail on the head. For the average person who is genuinely trying to buy something that meets just a basic, common sense definition of humane, these labels can end up hiding more of the truth than they actually show. And that leads us to this really sobering takeaway from our sources. The labels, they give us the illusion of a meaningful choice. But when 99% of all farmed animals in the United States are raised on factory farms, the choice you're making is almost always between one kind of factory farm and another. So if the very labels designed to make us feel good about our choices aren't telling the whole story, it leaves us with a really tough question, doesn't it? What does and what do we do with that information? It's something to think about. Thanks for joining me for this one.